and test out a way where we can try and improve estimation skills for parents when it comes to dealing with understanding the problems related to childhood obesity and specifically physical activity. So what I'm presenting today is going to be a design of a game and a game-based system that we jointly work together and develop. So we'll talk about what led to the design, how it saw innovation, significance, approach, what's kind of out there in this world, and talk specifically about the game design elements and how we built the methodologies related to that, and then talk about a little bit about the technology and spend some time with the demo of the game. This is again supported by our college, the College of Health Solutions at Arizona State University. Part of the I3D lab, which stands for Image and 3D Data Exploitations and Analysis. The team that developed the application was myself, Leigh, and then two undergraduate students, one in computer science and one in digital art. And this was, the entire project was for about, ran for about 6 months. So a lot of the data presented here with the obesity is specific to the United States. It's pretty sure that this correlates worldwide as well, and it's a trend that is continuing to grow. We see that the body mass index percentiles are slowly increasing over the years. Obese is defined as something that is greater than 94 percentile, and overweight is defined somewhere between 85 and 94. Just to give you a perspective, 31% of children in the United States are either overweight or obese. As opposed to in the 70s and 80s, that percentage was between 10 and 15. So we're almost kind of doubled in the last 20, 30 years. The focus of this study is children under 5, specifically 4 and 5-year-olds, but could also apply to 2 and 3-year-olds. And those estimates are at 21%, which is kind of alarming because a lot of this is not directly dependent on the child, because the child is kind of at the mercy of their parents in this age group. So individually, the children don't have that much of a decision-making capacity in that age, and we see an alarming number that 21% is quite high in this age group, which kind of goes on to say that a lot needs to happen at the parent level for this group, and if we can actually effectively target this group, then down the road the overall obesity numbers as they grow older will continue to drop if this group is handled at the early stage. So that's basically where this whole idea for trying to do something at home, trying to do something with the parents, and trying to use some innovative game-based collaboration along with some grounded theoretical work in physical activity, measurement and estimation skills led to this project. So there's always this question that gets asked when you talk about physical activity on what about nutrition. Nutrition plays an important role, diet plays an important role. The body mass index is not just a direct dependent on how vigorous or extreme or high physically active you are, but also the color of your intake, right? So there's always these two things go hand in hand, and so the way we try to design the system for physical activity naturally blends down the road to nutrition. So we're not addressing any nutritional specific aims here, just physical activity, but it's very important to note that you can't look at one without the other. So most work, again, in terms of innovation, most work has been in the area of treatment. So you're already obese, and now you want to try and do things to kind of improve your obesity numbers and try and get you back into the fold, right? That's where most of the work is happening in terms of interventions, whether they're clinical, whether they're validated, whether they're innovative in terms of using technology or games. It's focused around treatment, but very little this was one of the important things for our design was we wanted to be in the area of prevention, so target the kids when they're early. So we're not assuming that these kids are going to be obese or overweight, but they're normal kids. The goal is that they should not become obese or overweight because their parents are not well informed about how to estimate their activity levels. So also there are two things to understand in the prevention area. So you have your home, which is predominantly the major factor that that you can control as a parent, and then you have your external settings, whether it's daycare settings or school, or preschool, or childcare, and here you don't have much control. So you can only kind of, as a parent, only understand what could have happened in terms of activities. But your home is something you have full control on, and you can monitor that. And so this application is developed with the idea of being in the home, controlled by the parent. So again, continuing on that line of thought, they play a vital role, right, in the development of the 2 to 5 year old. So there's really no direct solution that there's no measuring stick to say the child was active by this much number every day, right? I mean, we don't have that kind of a machine that parents can use. What they normally have is a perception of what the activity levels are when they see their child do X number of things, whether it's just walking around or running around the house or going to a park or playing an actual sport or an activity. They just have a rough understanding of what that is. And you can't really train the parent with trying to measure BMI, right? So they're not really practitioners of trying to do measurements. And so it was very important to try and create something that was not very invasive, in which the parent had to do a lot of work on their own to learn new things, but at the same time help them understand and build their estimation levels. So that came to the idea of this concept called Make Your Garden Grow, which is a simple game-based visualization, in short, that's running on a tablet computer. You can wall it on hang it on a wall, or leave it on the dinner table every night, and you can configure it any which way inside the house. And it captures the 4 major activity levels of the child and correlates that to the development of a ecosystem, in this case the garden. Not only does it take the real numbers from an actual accelerometer that is attached to the child, but it also asks the parent on a daily basis what they thought that how active their child was in their terms. And it correlated their understanding of the child's activity with the real numbers. And over a period of 4 weeks, the goal was to try and get the parent to come as closer as possible in terms of estimating what their child's activity levels were. So it was kind of a trial and error kind of reuse and play and use mechanism, but the goal was a garden that influenced these decisions. So there's a theoretical model behind this. It's called the IFB model, where and it is a validated model used for behavior change. It starts with information, so there has to be some form of information dissemination to the parent, which happens in a period of about 30 minutes to 45 minutes session with our research assistant going into the home and explaining how the system works. There's also a specific quiz that they take in terms of understanding if something goes bad, how do they troubleshoot? Because one of the things we don't want is noise in the data, where if the parent were to not actively be involved in how to administer this at home, then the data can get skewed, right? So we did want to make sure that information is conveyed correctly. The motivation elements were also available inside the application, where it allowed the parents to establish daily, weekly goals and see if the child was progressing towards those. So inherently, the parent was able to see if they could get to those goals indirectly. And then the skill of a ability to estimate. So not only goal setting was important, but also trying to estimate what they felt out in the 4 values of activity, none, light, medium, and vigorous, what the parent thought that children were. And those were correlated back to real data and went through that skill building process. That's the second stage of this model. And then the last stage, which is still not completely done, is the complete validation, evaluation, and assessment of this thing in a real setting. We are just doing usability testing with few parents right now. At this point, we haven't gone into a full-blown pilot plan. So the outcomes are still not fully understood. So targeted at 4 and 5-year-olds, so the game had to be simple, had to be fun for them. So a garden and a plant with an ecosystem of bees and animals and insects that populated, that was a very good environment to start working with. This explains what the MBTA numbers per week meant for inactive to low to medium to high. And then this was correlated into the growth of the plant. So we had a progressive algorithm that rendered the 2 plants, both the parent plant and the child plant, based on the 4 values of MBTA coming out of an accelerometer. And the accelerometer we chose was a low-cost accelerometer called Fitbit, which is getting, when we started the project, it was not as popular as it is today, and so that's much more common than it was in those days. So we actually started with the Fitbit Ultra, but now we've moved to the Fitbit 1, so it works with all kinds of Fitbit, and it's about $90 to purchase. The one thing was the Fitbit was had to be custom, a belt custom had to be custom built to fit the Fitbit, because we didn't want the child to yank that out, or there was impediments that could come out with abuse of the system. It was possible, so we designed a custom belt where it was really hard for the child to kind of take that accelerometer out or anything, and it was put on the hip, so it was not very discomforting. So the garden is represented again by plants. The foliage depends on the actual numbers. Then depending on the foliage, you attract bees, you attract insects, and bees, you attract other wildlife, and so it's kind of a progressive system that was rendered. The environment also reflects participation. So if you're not checking in every day before dinner time, which was the desired protocol, then it will start looking gloomy, it will start looking rainy, the plant might start to wilt, and it'll show signs of decay and things like that. So it was very not in your face, but kind of subliminal design of trying to make sure that you keep yourself engaged on a daily basis, but it's not trying to be too aggressive. Again, so week-long home implementation. We use a technology we use with Microsoft XNA. We had Python for starting and scripts. The hardware was the touchscreen Windows-based PC, Fitbit accelerometer. Plant growth was procedurally generated as I explained. This is a table that explains what objects show up in the environment based on what you do and how active you are. And with a progressive scale of different things that populated the ecosystem. So the third part of the IME model, like we have to do, is complete a full-blown in-home testing. We want to validate our outcomes with a larger group. We also want to see if we can include nutritional elements along with physical activity, whether that adds value or do we keep that separate. So those are some unanswered questions. We want to work with actual clinics who provide obesity help to parents, and then validate the Fitbit as an actual PA measuring device in children in that age. It has been validated for adults and adolescents, but not for children. The other tools we're also building is a bedtime storybook that correlates the actual environment into a bedtime story for the children, so you do domain reinforcement in the real world. Dinner plates, so while you're eating dinner, you actually have the story elements of the game coming back at you. So it's kind of like your physical world is interacting with your virtual world and trying to bring those together. So we want to see how these pieces also influence and improve the participation of the plan for a quick demo. Just want to quickly run this and show you. this is currently connected to my Fitbit. Let's see, it goes to your Fitbit account. So the one thing with the Fitbit is you can't pull the data directly from the device. You have to actually go to your account, which is, you need to have online connectivity. So the one limitation is the homes that you deploy this need to be having a Wi-Fi or an online connectivity. So you go to your account and you pull the data from there. So that's kind of like the whole world, and that's your plan as it grows. When you start the game, it's going to look for the data to be pulled from the, your Fitbit account. Right now it's my account. I've been not so active the last 2 days, but maybe it keeps my whole week's data pulled. I don't know what it's going to show, so I haven't tested it yet. So it'll be interesting to find out. Usually it takes about 45 seconds to pull it. It depends on internet speed again. I can have someone ask questions about this as quick the data.
Okay, so let's thank our speaker.